bracket.
Yeah.
Okay, we're live. That's what wives do. They say, hey, honey, do this. And they kick you under the table and they do all that kind of stuff. I'm really used to it. In fact, if it's not there, it's kind of like driving you about to sleep when you fall asleep and there's nobody there to nudge you. So I'm very thankful for my wife. Welcome to Live Chat. This is Keith and Alyssa with How to Build Your Own Home. And we're just getting on board and people here can chime in. I want to talk about something that is very interesting and people kind of don't. Sometimes when we're owner builders, we go at it and we think, oh man, I can be my own contractor. And I don't doubt that. And we're here to help and streamline and give people a lot of simple approaches to the whole thing. But then at the same time, a lot of people don't know what a builder does. And I'm going to explain a couple of things that will help you understand the value of a good builder, let alone just the whole concept of a contractor who's willing to engage in contract. If you've heard me talk before, the founding fathers taught that we should teach in our schools reading, writing, and engaging in contract. Not reading, writing, and arithmetic, but the ability to engage in contract. What that means is that you need something done. I come in, I can do that. Here's my contract. And then you're willing to be accountable to that contract. And that's pretty big because now a lot of things come into play. Even before I get a contract drafted for somebody, in order to say that I'm a contractor, I have to go to the state and show certain things that I've done. I have to take some tests. I have to get some certifications if I need to. One of the big ones that a lot of people don't know is my insurance liability. I pay on average of $14,000 to $20,000 a year just to have liability insurance and coverage to back me up. So if I were to build a home and it caught fire on accident, then my liability insurance could kick in and support me for that. I'm taking on the complete liability for a build. That means it's complete cost, it's repair, it's replacement, all of those, or poor workmanship. Whatever it may be, I'm now accountable for that. And so I'm making calls through the entire process. So what I'm getting at is that there's what I would call a real cost involved, meaning that even if I were to take on let somebody use my license, which a lot of people do, and it's a bad call. You never let anyone operate under your license because what happens is the income flows through, but I'm not getting a fee on that income. So therefore, all of my revenue goes real high, but I have no income on that revenue. It's just flowing through, and I'm not growing. When you think in terms of a business, you have to have some sort of a profit or revenue so that if you need to down the road get a loan, you can get a loan. So what I'm getting at is that you wouldn't come into a doctor and say, hey, can I just work under your license? No, it doesn't work. Because if something goes wrong and you do some stitches on somebody and they get gangrene in them, who's responsible? That doctor is responsible. So this is how our world is structured. If you have a bank that's willing to give you a loan, that means that they're going to ask you to get full coverage, term build coverage for the build of your home. So therefore, you're responsible for it. Now, here's something to keep in mind. If you did something and approved something to be done, concrete, framing, whatever, and it wasn't per plan, and you just changed the dynamics of the plan, the insurance company can come back at you and say, we're liable for poor workmanship, but or for other extenuating circumstances, but you approved something that's outside the plan, so therefore you're responsible. Do you get what I'm getting at? Liability has a way of seeping its own level. It finds the causality of a problem or a defect in the building of a home, or even the building of a skyscraper, whatever you want to call it. That's why whenever I build, I make sure I get my soils, engineering, structural, all those things, and I make sure they build to that, because guess who's responsible if the engineering isn't right and it was stamped? It's the engineer. I did it exactly as an engineer required, exactly as a geotech engineer, whatever, but it still failed. That eventually it will find the causality or the person who's really liable for something. So this is what engaging in contract is knowing where that stops. And the buck stops here is where I think it's Truman who said that. He was the president of the United States, and Harry S. Truman, and he had a sign on his desk when he was president, and he said the buck stops here. And that's kind of true. You have to be willing to say that the buck stops with you. And don't ever forget that. And there's a lot of power in it, but there's an incredible amount of liability that goes with that. So this is what it means to be a general contractor, is you're taking on all this accountability and all this responsibility, but there's paperwork. You're making sure that you have your 1099s. You're making sure you have insurance by all of your different subcontractors. My daughter, when she was here, we talked about this today. When she gets a new subcontractor on, she goes through the gamut. She makes sure they have their certifications. She makes sure they have their insurance and all of those things, so that we now are covered, that the buck stops with them on something they might do that could be faulty. So this is where general contracting is all about, making sure that you've got all of those buck stops. I got a buck stop there. I got a buck stop there. I got another buck stop here. And that's how you're covered as a builder. So I wanted to give you guys some heads up on that. Let's take some questions and we may come back to that.
Brady
Morgan, no state licensing in Wyoming. Got to be careful who you hire. Any Yahoo with a hammer will tell you he can build. Correct. Now keep in mind that even though there's no state licensing for general contractors, there is insurance liability. Okay. Even if you don't have the insurance coverage, somebody could come after you for a liability claim. So it's there. It's built into the statutes of any state. I mean, Texas is a lot of counties are the same way. No licensing per se, but the buck stops somewhere, and eventually Wyoming will have some liability. I don't know how they get away with all those big expensive homes up in Jackson Hole. Wow.
Yeah, Brady, tell us how far you are from Jackson.
That's interesting.
This is a two-part.
Cute question. Lonnie drafted my plans, which included a door opening into the house from the garage. However, the engineering plans did not have the door opening on their plans. Foundation was poured.
Keep going.
Let's go. Keep going. 4 Omni block home with vertical rebar that now sits where my door opening should be. We all miss this. Who is accountable and how can we correct this? You could go through a legal thing on that and it would be expensive, or you can just cut the rebar. Mm-hmm. And the threshold of the door will sit right over the top of that. Now, the other question is the concrete the right height? Probably it is going into the garage and it's sloped or stepped, but it's not going to be a problem to just cut that rebar. And when they put the threshold on, make sure they put a nice seal on there with some liquid nails or something. Really pack it in there so that you're not going to have any draft or stuff like that come from the garage. But believe it or not, that happens a lot in the industry because concrete guys tend to overkill. They will tend to put more rebar in than they need. I've got a door just like that on another job. And they know that it's not a problem to cut that rebar and then make it ready for a steel pan. The real challenge is if the concrete is not the right height and you're having to cut the concrete. That can be an issue. But if you're at the right elevation, you should be just fine.
But you can still cut the concrete.
You can. I've done that many times. Yeah.
So. Sometimes when plumbers have put their stuff in the wrong spot or decide to put a sink in the island, they cut the concrete and put it in.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not alone. It happens.
Think about it this way. When I was a kid, I had 2 freckles on my palms, right? In the exact spot. And I always thought that when I was an embryo, I divided on it. It was just perfectly. Okay. But, if you really look at it, each eye is not perfectly in alignment. One eye is an ear, same thing there. So one's slightly off and slightly off. And so when we have children, even if they have a cleft lip, we're going to love that child and do whatever we can to fix the cleft lip, but we're just going to love them left and right. But as builders, people have no leeway for builders. If they see something wrong, they will hold you at it. And I go, I'm not God. God creates stuff.
What's the story we always say? The Persian rugs. Persian rugs are the most perfect rugs in the world. Mm-hmm. But they always put one flaw in the rug because they say God is the only one that's perfect.
So when my wife and I built our first home and there was a mistake or something wasn't just perfect, let's just move on. That's our Persian rug. That's our Persian. So when you're building,
when a little kid comes in and takes a hammer and nail to your brand new wood staircase, a neighbor kid, you're like, well, there's the Persian rug.
There's the Persian rug. So relax is what we're saying. If you can relax a little bit on that, you'll be just fine.
Giving you hugs.
Okay. Good. Next one. Sergeant Pence. Hey guys, any extra tips on scheduling? Maybe lesser known ideas. It's a really, really good question. And if I was in the commercial realm and I did 14-story buildings, I could schedule to my heart's content because I could have electrical up here, plumbing up here, and others guys. I could have people on the job site left and right. If something's not ready over here, well, it's going to be ready over here. But residential is not that way. Scheduling is something that I do ad hoc with my phone, constantly talking to my subcontractors. And then I use the build flows. There's a build flow schedule in the download section, how to build your own home. And it's very, very invaluable. I know what comes next because I've been doing this for a long time. But if you don't know what comes next, follow the build flow. Download it, print it, put it on your clipboard, and you'll say, okay, this. And it's designed for slab-on-grade, stem wall, and walkout basements. And there's also a section in there for Omniblock, for those who are doing Omniblock. So download that build flow, and it's really going to help you see what's going to come next. That way, like I called my framer today, and I said to him, hey, we poured some piers, which is really, really cool. Picture here, you can see that, for a deck for a client. And I said it will be cured, ready for Monday. And he goes, how about the garage? I go, the garage is being poured tomorrow. So they'll give the whole weekend. It's going to cure, and he's going to have the whole site to himself. All the lumber's there that's been ordered, all the special timbers that needed to be on site, they're all there. He dropped off his forklift this morning. He's ready to rock and roll. So it's constant communication. The more communication you have, the better. But don't overkill. Don't dump fear onto a subcontractor and have this huge list. They don't like to read the long list. It's quite depressing to read that. Keep your things to simple comments, as short as you possibly can, and be prompt and also being thankful. And if you can be thankful in your language, my daughter's really great at this. Whenever she sends out an email to a subcontractor, hey, it's a beautiful day. Hope you're doing great. Here's what I need. Blah blah blah. Goes into it. She said something that's more of an affirmation before she even gets started. So practice those things. But we could talk forever about scheduling. Use the build flow, and it's going to tell you what's coming next and then how to schedule it. And then lastly, ask your subcontractors about how long do you think this will take. Well, framing, we should be done, if no weather issues, we should be done in 12 days from now. 12 days? Well, let's give you an extra day or two. That'd be great. Then you can have your mechanical come in. Okay, and that you can start to schedule. So asking each subcontractor, how long do you think it will be, so you can get the next person in here. Okay.
So Brady's saying he's only 45 minutes from Jackson.
Multi-million-dollar homes all around me. Yeah, and no licensing. I could build those left and right.
We'll have to come visit you if we go up there. My brother has a project up there.
Yeah. Okay, what are the dangers on winter foundation pours? The ground can't be frozen. And if the ground is frozen, you could have a problem, but they can ameliorate that by putting hot water into the concrete mix. That hot water, you got to make sure you have compaction first. If you have compaction and then it freezes, you should be okay. But if it freezes and you didn't get proper compaction, you could have a problem down the road when everything thaws out. So making sure your soil is just right is primo. And the next one is if you can pour, like let's say, for example, it can get to 28, 25 degrees that following night. That means you want to pour at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. They get all their surface and finish work done by 1 o'clock. Then you've got a 5-hour window where it's starting to cure. And then you throw blankets on it just before the evening occurs. And what happens is they put hot water in that cement. Cement by its nature is a little hot, runs a little hot. You put the blankets on there and it's curing with a little bit of heat in it overnight. And if you put the blankets on it, it really could help. And if I've seen people throw straw on there, but blankets are probably the best. If it depends on how quick you get finishing done and it starts to harden before it goes into the evening, that means you need to pour a little earlier in the morning. Don't be pouring at 1 or 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You're going to have wet concrete, literally wet concrete by the evening. And you want to avoid that. And you want to avoid shades. So if you're pouring concrete and part of it, half of it is in the shade all day long, that part that's in the shade, that's not going to set up faster than the part that's in the sun. So if you get full sun on the whole thing, really, really a plus. Let it heat up during the day and throw blankets on just before dusk. And just before dusk, you want to get those blankets on there because the temperatures drop real fast.
The builder wants to use hay bales and blankets.
Blankets first, and then the hay bales on top of that. But don't put the hay bales on first because they can damage the concrete and they can make it. And you have all texture this. They can texture it. So put some blankets down first, and then put some hay bales on it.
Brady says just make sure the concrete is nice and firm.
Yeah, if the concrete is firm and when you press on it and it doesn't give it all, it's got a good shot to cure through the night. So, and if you do it right, it cures a little harder than most concrete. When I do concrete in the hot summer, boy, we're setting up by 2 o'clock we're all set up and it's curing too fast.
This is what Brady says about his sub scheduling.
For schedule, I pretty much always double what a new sub tells me for time. Once I'm familiar with the sub, I know how long they will take without even asking. Correct. Yeah. And the number on their crew. Mm-hmm. So if you got an electrician that comes and it's just one guy and it's like 3,500 square feet, it's going to take them a month to pull a wire for that whole home. Versus a crew with 5 guys, they can get it done in 3 days. So always find out how big their crew is. All right. Marcella Marban. Hope I said that right. Second question. For the on-the block, electrician is recommending flex conduit instead of what Denny recommends, 3/4 PVC. He says it should be easier for mason. Thoughts? No. Do what Denny recommends. And I'll tell you why. If you use flex, it's going to pull out from the box. I'll let my wife tell the story.
No, I don't know the story. I was just imagining it in my head.
We have a home. We did an omni-block home, and I used Smurf. And the concrete dumped in there, and Smurf wasn't rigid, and the concrete pulled that Smurf away from the box. So we have an outlet that we could never use. So use the rigid pipe because it has connectors that are a lot more rigid. And when you use that, you know that when all that concrete gets fallen down, it's not going to pull that wire and pull the Smurf tube, the flex tube, which is what it is, out of the bucket. So don't let them do that. Use the more rigid stuff and you'll be much happier for it.
And there's so many times I wanted to plug in the vacuum right there.
Yeah. I had 2 outlets that I couldn't use. And it's really depressing. And I tried to drill a hole to try to find those outlets. But when they're like 6 feet away and there's concrete in there, I couldn't do it. So I had 2 outlets that are completely useless.
I don't know what this is.
What is a blue topping of pad?
I don't know what that is.
I don't know, Stephen. What is blue topping of pad? I don't know.
Is it for concrete? What part of the build are you talking about?
I don't know. Okay. A little more description and we can answer that.
Yeah, and then snow crusher.
Snow crusher. Thank you. You're right. So snow crust tracer. I hope I said that
racer.
Right.
He's a racer. Mackenzie is racing. Okay, that's it.
When you're dealing with the winter, for example, I'm dealing with winter issues right now, and I know I've got about 3 weeks, maybe 2, before really freezing temperatures come on board. And I want to show you something. I use this. It's just an app. All right. And it shows you the weather. And what you want to avoid is cold nights. Like I'm at 44, 41, 45, 46, 44. I'm not hitting freezing temperatures just yet. So I've got a pipe on a home just down the street that I'm building, and I've got water in it. I've got inspection coming. All right. Now, if it drops too close to 31, 32 degrees and it's closer to freezing temperatures, I need to go out there and drain that pipe of water, because the inspectors are going to come in to make sure there's water in the pipe, that it's holding water. And this is something a lot of people don't realize. The inspector will come, tap on it, and it's solid, leave, but it froze, and pipes froze in the pipe overnight, and then they go ahead and pour the concrete. But you've got a busted pipe underneath that concrete. So you got to watch your temperatures. And if you've got freezing temperatures coming and you've got a pipe that's filled with water, don't fill it until the morning. Once you get inspection, drain that line as quick as you possibly can, because some of those pipes are just completely exposed to the elements and they will freeze. So be very cautious about a lot of stuff like that. Water and freezing temperatures are not your friend. And if you can hurry and get a lot of that infrastructure in before freezing temperatures, I think I got maybe 2 more weeks. I've been watching the temperature drop more and more. And I watch this like a hawk, because I'm pouring concrete. And I don't need that to be an issue for me. I need to get that done as quick as I possibly can. And also, if you have temp water on a job site, you just have those frost spigot that goes up like that. Well, that's great to have on site during the wintertime, because that goes down 3 feet. It opens the valve up down at the bottom. And when you close it, that valve opens up and lets all that water in that pipe drain out into a basin of gravel. So I've got water throughout the winter. I'm not going to have any freezing problems. So these are things to think about. And I'll give you one more tip. This is a scheduling issue. If you're going into the winter, and let's say it's like December and January and even February, and you're hanging drywall and you're putting up mud. Do you want to know how long it takes mud to dry in the winter?
Oh.
Forever.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you get your heating system in and turn it on, they turn it on and turn it off before they sand. They turn it on and turn it off before they paint. But here's the thing. You've got all that temperature. If you're trying to paint in super cold weather, that paint's going to just drip. And I had a job like that, and it just dripped everywhere, especially by the windows. If you try to paint the windows, even though you have plastic around there, it's so cold by that window that you don't have enough heat to keep it from dripping. So I like to build mountain homes, like you know, but I also like to have a wood burning fireplace if I can make it happen. I had one job where we had a Franklin stove, and we just had extra lumber from the build, and we stoked that sucker real hot, and we could actually keep it that way. And it got the whole house warm. So it was great for mudding, and things dried real quick. If you don't have that, get some fans around where the mud's being put on the drywall, and it will help that quite a bit. You will also need a proper temperature for carpet. You cannot put carpet into a cold temperature, because it's shrunk. They have to have it warm so it's flexible, so they can stretch it a little better. So,
okay, back to what is blue topping of a pad? You put the grading contractor had it in his quote.
Blue topping.
Yeah, still don't know.
Is that a pad for framing, or pad for grading, or pad for?
You'll just have to ask him.
Ask him.
Yeah, ask him, what is this in the bid?
Yeah, that's a new one for me.
Yeah. Okay, here we go.
Okay, ANSI 47. Hey everyone, my wife and I are thinking about doing an owner builder near Newman, Georgia, and I wanted to get some real world feedback. Okay.
Here we go.
We met with a contractor today who basically told us that if we act as our own general contractor, most subcontractors won't take us seriously. Not true. My approach on that is to call yourself a builder and get an email that says Joe and Mary's building, and just tell them you are land developers and you do projects here and there, and this is one of them. Just call yourself a builder, and they'll treat you like a builder. But you go out there and say, this is our dream home, we're owner builders, Nobody likes that. Nobody wants to build for that type of personality. If you're a builder, they know that means that if you call yourself a builder, this is what's going to go inside the subcontractor's mind. They're going to say, oh, they've been through this before. They're just fine. I can work with them and I might build another client. But if you're an owner builder and you call yourself an owner builder, you're going to be fearful. You're going to be uncertain. You're going to be questioning the process. You're going to drive them nuts. And that's why they don't like to build owner builders. It's not that you can't get people to bid on your stuff, is they don't want to deal with the person who doesn't have any experience about the process. Okay. I've built homes for people and they live on the job site, or they're there at the job site all day long and they're constantly asking me questions. What about this? Other kind of blah, blah, blah. And it's an ongoing education process that I have to constantly give them. And that's me as a builder, and it's part of my job. But subcontractors don't want to constantly educate you. And that's why I tell you, you need to be a little relaxed through the whole process. There's going to be some Persian rugs here and there. There's going to be some things that may not necessarily be like, right now there's a job site that's kind of a mess. It bothers me. But I also know there's a ton of things getting done, and I can't put that on my subcontractors right now. They'll get done. We'll go in there and get it all cleaned up, ready for the next crew, and I'll feel better about myself. But I don't want to dump stuff on people. And if you go at this thinking you're going to dump stuff on a subcontractor left and right, they don't want it. And so that's why they avoid owner builders, not because of the work is they expect work to be cheap. No, they just don't want the headache. So don't be the headache, you know.
Brady says they definitely will charge more if you know it's a one-time job as an owner.
Just create a Facebook page or even a false website and do that really simple and name it something. Call yourself something builders. And don't ever say that you're an owner builder. Okay. Would it be better to vent or unvent the attic? I have been getting mixed recommendations from my area south of Houston, Texas. You're dealing with a lot of humidity, and so you're going to want to vent that one. Especially if you get really, really hot temperatures, and down there in Houston, you could have summers that are really, really, really hot. If you don't vent, you could pose the problem of humidity, okay, even from a bathroom, getting up into that attic area. And where's that humidity going to go? It's going to land on something. Now, if you don't have ventilation, it's going to land on something, and then it's going to do its thing. What does water do when there's no air movement over it? It puddles, and it creates what's called a cold condensing surface. And it starts to do its number, and that's where mold can start to grow. That's why pioneers, when they built, I was talking with a geotech person out here 2 days ago, and he was asking a question about a build, and he's helping some people build some homes that were in the fire up here. And I says, you want to know where I learned how to build? And I says, the pioneers. I demoed an old pioneer home about 2 miles that way behind me. And as I was taking up the cabinetry, guess what I found underneath the cabinets? And this is really relevant to this attic thing. I found holes that big, 3 or 4 of them, and they had mesh on them. And after some research, I found out that they vented their crawl space inside the conditioned space of the home. Pretty brilliant. That's why those pioneer homes lasted for so long. They weren't looking to seal up a home. They were looking to get proper ventilation to protect the home. That's why I'm not a total seal up guy. And it's the same thing with attics. I love having some ventilation in an attic. But the only caveat is if you do seal up an attic, the only roof you can put on is an aluminum shingle roof because it's going to refract heat outside into the atmosphere. That's the only roof that can get away with more of a sealed up scenario than most roofs. But getting some air movement over materials helps last and make those materials last longer, especially lumber. I hope that helps.
That light is coming in pretty good.
Yeah, it's light.
Oh, thanks. We got a super chat for Anson47.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
Wow.
Is there a middle ground between owner builder and using a GC for everything? Is a construction manager at risk? There's a middle ground, and here's what I've recommended on some people that feel just a little bit overwhelmed and they'd like to get a builder involved is that you can do a consulting situation, which is what I do. But if you need that builder on board for liability, because the bank's going to demand that, remember, the buck's got to stop somewhere, then the builder could say, tell you what, why don't you take it to framing stage and I'll take it from there. Or why don't you take it to framing plus all mechanical and I'll take it from there. What would your fee be if that was the case? And if they really like you and you're not a pain and you're going to be fun to work with, they might work with you on that. And I've done that, believe it or not, dozens of times in my lifetime. I'll take a job to a certain level and I'll let them take it over. The hardest part for owner builders is your foundation, dirt work, framing, all the really big, complex things. That's what scares a lot of people. But, selecting carpet and getting painters to come in, that's where they feel more comfortable. So that's kind of a middle ground if you're interested in asking if they'll just consult or if they'll be the owner builder and just let you take it after a certain point. And to be honest with you, most builders wouldn't mind doing that because I'll be honest with you, the money that builders make is in the rough stage. It's not the finished stage. We don't make money off of insulation. We don't make money off of paint, not nearly as much as excavation, concrete, framing, roofing, big ticket items like that. So a lot of builders will say, yeah, I'll do that. Well, and then they don't have to worry about the finish side because a lot of builders just don't like that. So,
unless you're like McKinsey and that's her favorite part.
Yeah.
She loves the finished stuff and she makes it so pretty.
We have a great relationship. I take it to 7-way all the way to drywall, and then my daughter takes it from there. So,
yeah.
Good question.
That's good.
Okay.
Yep. The rest are just added.
Okay.
So thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, Nancy. Don't know. Welcome. Look at the sunshine coming through.
I know.
Here, so.
I keep trying to hide it.
No, it's fine. That's me. I like the rough stuff, finish not so much, and that's from Brady Morgan. And you're going to find that a lot of contractors either like finish or they like the rough. And what's the difference between the two? Well, let's take plumbing, for example. Plumbers will come in and do all the underground, dig it by hand or with a backhoe, get all the plumbing in. And then when it passes, they'll backfill all that. And they like that. And then the other framing rough is where you come in and put the plumbing inside the framing structure and all that. And some people like that more. Whereas some people like to put on the hardware, actually put on the sink and put on the hardware. That's finished and set the toilets and spigots and you name, and the tedious stuff. And some people like that. Same thing, electrical is the same way. And so there's a rough, then a secondary rough, and then a finished side of all of those. And so I'm like you. I love the rough side of stuff because I'm making sure that everything works for the finished side. And so I'm always thinking about making backing support and framing so tile is going to be protected. I'm thinking about all these different things that the finished side needs in order to do their job. So you're one of these. Oh, and if you're both, that's a really gifted person. I'm not that gifted.
I know.
But no, good question there.
That's like our woodworker. He is really good with details. My
worker, he's that way.
And our painter.
Painter's the same way.
Goodness. Oh.
I have a tile guy that's really good. I have a lot of people that are really good at finish that I'm not. So.
Yeah, and we appreciate them so much.
I couldn't get a shower pan level just perfectly. I can't do that. But I can get on a roof, and I can get on a backhoe, and I can throw studs, and I can
He can do his muscles.
Yeah, I can do my muscle. I can do electrical. I love playing electrical. I'm really good at that. But there's other stuff I'm not that great at. So remember, hit the like button. Yeah, that'd be great. Hit the like button. So
yeah, it helps for other people to find this.
Yeah, let's see here.
Okay.
If we don't have any questions, we will head out and make some dinner, have some dinner. But go to How to Build Your Own Home. Take the First Steps course. If you haven't done that, take the First Steps course. It's probably the best primer course out there for anyone trying to be their own builder. And again, don't call yourself an owner builder. Just say a builder. And you're going to feel a lot more confident. You're going to carry yourself in a really different way.
And we do have a lot of people that enjoy building. They do it once for themselves and then they decide, hey, I like doing this. I can do it every 2 years and get the equity and build again and build again. And then you are a builder. You're doing it multiple times.
You're engaging in what was called the Transcendental Movement in America back in the 1800s, early 1800s. Ralph Waldo Emerson says he called it the Transcendental Movement, and all it meant was self-reliance. I don't need to hire somebody from Britain. I don't need to buy that from Britain. I can do that myself, and that's what spawned the rugged individualism of the American way. And you're getting that back. That's what it means to be self-reliant. You can actually do it yourself.
We tricked everybody, but Andrea Magaga, 16.
Yeah.
She says she has a question, but she hasn't. Oh, here it is.
Okay.
Let's see. I sent a question earlier. Did you read it?
Oh,
let me go back up.
Go over here.
Oh, we printed it. Sorry. Oh, so glad you chimed in.
Let me get this here.
Okay, here we go. We tricked. Sorry, we lost some people.
Well, I sent it earlier. I don't know if this is another one that a student. Thank you for reminding me, because I had a student who can't be here at live chat, so I'm going to answer that question first, and you can find hers. This is from Bart. He's from South Korea, right? I can't imagine anyone being less qualified to build his own house, but one can dream. If I were able to build an 800 square foot small house, how can I be certain that the house is insurable? Not going to give my real phone number because I'm in South Korea. And so I've never known of an insurance company not insuring a home that has been properly inspected and approved by the local building official. That's really the key factor. And you can go to your insurance adjuster and say, hey, if I build a home and it's inspected by the local building official and I get a certificate of occupancy from that building department, will you insure it? Oh, sure. They should say yes. But you want to, I don't know what it's like in South Korea. Is that where you said it?
South Korea is that one,
yeah.
She sent hers through email.
Yeah, South Korea. So I hope that answers the question. Talk with your building officials and ask them if they need it, if there's a permit required, and if they conduct inspections, and if they give a final certificate of occupancy. And if you have that, then you should be insured, regardless of who builds the home. They just want to make sure it went through the protocol, the local building office. So,
can you look in your email? It looks like Andrea sent an email. Can you look to see if it came through?
Let me see. Ask her when she sent it.
Andrea, when did you send it? Let me just see. Ask. Okay. We're looking right now, and then we'll go up. I like what Brady had to say. Brady Morgan, personally, I build rentals to invest and spec homes for quick capital. No need to wait.
Here it is.
Yep. Okay, here we go. And
I found your question. Here's your question. Okay. First, thank you for all what you do when it comes to assisting with home building. Great. It means a lot to me. You're welcome. I know what you have said about renovations, and I'm not mistaken, is not your forte. I've done a lot of renovations, so you may not be able to answer. I'm renovating a home in North Carolina that will be sold. The whole house is gutted. Will your course help with putting it all back together? Also, what is the best siding to use? It is so many out there to choose from. Yes, the programs can help you with the renovations. All you have to do is go through the budget and you say, yeah, I don't need framing and foundation work, because you can just ignore those, because if the home's already good to go, just ignore those line items. And you go through all the line items in the budget, and it will tell you which ones that you need to get a bid for. And then you can go to the checklists, and they have video and downloadable PDFs for all those checklists. If you're redoing electrical, download the electrical checklist. If you're doing drywall, download that. You can download them all, and they're all there ready to go. And then it has the flow chart, so many other things, subcontractor agreements. There's over 55 checklists in that entire course with video instruction. And when it comes to siding, I just don't like vinyl siding. It's not that great. In my whole community, all the homes burnt down that had vinyl siding. I would just go with a hardy board. It takes paint forever. It lasts forever. Very little maintenance over time. It's a great product, and you can do a shake looking, you can do a batten board look. There's all kinds of stuff, but I've done a lot of stucco, and I'm just not happy with stucco. It's easy to ding. The J channels aren't rust proof. They haven't made a J channel at the bottom that looks good. So,
do you think the first steps would work, or just go straight to the?
I would just go to the first steps is going to help you. It's going to help you identify costs. But at the end of the first steps course, there's a coupon code for the self-managed course. Make sure you use that. I've seen so many students take the first steps course and they don't use that coupon code, and it will give you a discount, a little more than the cost of the first steps course. So make sure you use that coupon code.
Yeah, and you can reach out to us to, I don't know if she really needs the first step.
Well, if you take this self-managed course, it includes the first steps course.
Yeah.
Anytime you purchase that, it includes the first steps course.
I'm trying to think if we could give a discount code. I don't have it set up, but if you're watching today, if you give me an hour, I'll set up a discount code just for today, and we're gonna have it be. It'll be live 15%. Okay, that's more than the starter course. What is the first steps?
First steps course.
First steps is only 10. So if you're watching today, I'll put this live 15% one on for you.
It'll be good for 48 hours.
And yeah, anybody who's watching it, I'll give them till Sunday night. I'll take it off Sunday night or Monday morning. Okay.
Yeah.
So just give me an hour and I'll do that.
Okay.
Okay. There was another question that I saw come in. Question.
We will be using Permalock aluminum shingles. How should we insulate the attic if we choose to vent? You're just going to do your regular net and blow or bats that are going to be R30 up in the attic, and you should be just fine. And the venting, what I like to do is I like to do the blow-in insulation because I get it everywhere. But they have what's called a baffle, and you just need one or two of them inside the trusses, between the trusses, and they come all the way to the eave, and then they bend down, and you staple them in there. So air comes up through the eave and up through that baffle, but then there's all this insulation packed inside there. So if you want, you can do it that way. That's the best way, because otherwise that insulation gets covered up over the eave. And so if you can have a baffle to come down to the eave, get some ventilation, and you don't need every space between the trusses. You just need one or two to get a little bit of air to come up through the top. And then you can put some turtle vents, and they have to be aluminum. So you need aluminum on aluminum. If you have a different metal, like a galvanized metal, it's going to react differently to that aluminum. You're going to cause a problem. So have an aluminum turtle vent on the top against that aluminum shingle, and you should be just fine. Okay.
Oh, I better put it in, because you could do 50. Okay, I'm going to type in the chat what it is, because it could have been done differently, because I said live, 15, and then I'm going to do no % sign. Okay, live 15. Okay.
Now give her about an hour, and she'll have that up there for you guys.
Because I don't think it lets me do %.
Anything else?
Live 15.
I don't think
nope. I think, yes. Harold.
Okay. Harold. What does code say about the amount of insulation required in the attic? That's specific to your region. So if you're building in Canada, it's going to be much different than if you're building in Florida. So, and a lot of insulation companies, you can even go online and you can check out what's insulation requirement for, what's the, our residential code requirement for insulation in my area, zip code, blah, blah, blah. And you'll see all kinds of links, and you'll see maps, and you'll see colors where it's colder up in the Dakotas, and then it gets warmer as you get to the Midwest, and even warmer as you get to Texas and all those. And it changes. Your R value requirement is different for each one. However, keep in mind the new residential code is asking for full envelope insulation on the outside of the home. And that could be as high as R6, R8, maybe even a little higher than that, but not much. But they're asking for continuous insulation on the outside, in addition to the regular insulation inside your walls. The ceiling insulation, that's going to be a different requirement than the wall insulation. Again, it's different for every region. So check your region, and that will actually help you out.
And where do they check?
Just type in installation R-value requirements for my area, and do that in any search engine, and it will pop up the code for your area.
And they could just go local permitting.
Yeah, and you can even talk with a local installation subcontractor, and they can tell you.
Okay, I think
that's it.
I think that's it. Okay.
Hey, we'll end there, and we'll be here again next week.
Yeah.
It's been fun, guys. Every Thursday, 5 to 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, we'll be here for a live chat. And again, if you're chiming in and watching the live chat when it's not live, go to How to Build Your Own Home, contact the instructor, and you can send a question here this way, and then we'll print it up, and then we'll put it in live chat so you can come back and listen. Great way to get questions from a realtor and a builder. So great team. We'll see you guys next week, right?
Yes.
Okay. See you.
Okay.